Hello guys, this is your friend Multiverse Shinobi 2.0 and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is What If Naruto was chosen by the Shinigami and Arceus, and formed a harem with Sakura, Ino, Hinata, and Tenten Part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. A woman with long flowing white hair that she left loose blow behind her, from which two red horns protruded, and pale skin that had a purple tint to it. She is draped in an oversized white kimono and carries a set of prayer beads, and at her side is a tanto next to her. She was watching a blonde 13-year-old boy with blonde hair, blue eyes, and 6 whisker marks on his face. And she grew concerned with what the people did to him. Do they have no trust in their previous leader or me, the goddess of death? She said as she looked at the boy. And even though the boy did not know it, she felt that she could call the boy one of her warriors. He was an Uzumaki, after all. She then gained a look in her eyes before snapping her fingers as a portal opened as a window. It showed a white, equine creature with an androgynous appearance that resembled a Qilin or centaur, with a gray, vertically striated underside and has a striated pattern, has similar recurrences on the underside of its mane, tail, and face. Its 4 pointed feet are tipped with gold hooves and a long mane juts from its head. The creature's face is gray, with green eyes, red pupils, and a circular green pattern below its eyes. It also has a streak of gold coloration on its head and ears that point upward. Its neck is fairly long, with 2 pairs of extrusions to the sides and a flap-like feature on the neck's underside that is colored white like much of the body. It also has a golden cross-like wheel attached to its body by its round abdomen, and the wheel also has 4 jewels attached to it. Yes, Shinigami, the creature asked the now-named Shinigami. Yes, Arceus, can you do something for the one that holds my seal like you did for the one you did for magic? Shinigami asked the creature. The same one, Arceus asked as Shinigami shook her head. A different world that I have control over, Arceus asked as Shinigami nodded. Arceus hummed at that as the equine creature hummed for a bit of a while before nodding. I can do that, Arceus said before looking at the Shinigami, but there must be at least 3 others going with him, Arceus added as Shinigami nodded before gaining a look on her face and then smiling. I have just the 4, Shinigami told Arceus. I would like to help as well, a female voice called out as 2 looked over to where the voice came from. It's you, Shinigami said. Land of Fire, Konoha, Konoha Hospital. On the roof of Konoha Hospital stood Team 7 of Konoha, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno. Both male members of Team 7 glared at each other before they ran at each other with punches and kicks flying at each other, and Sakura watched them helplessly as they fought with each other. Both boys ran through the sheets of the hospital and continued fighting before they jumped up to the railing and battled in the air for a while. Naruto was the one that landed first as he summoned an army of clones. They attacked Sasuke as the Uchiha landed. Sasuke jumped away from the clone army, formed the tiger seal, and breathed a giant fireball at Naruto and his clones. But as the number of clones was diminished, the fire was getting sucked into one part of the roof. Naruto, Sakura muttered, feeling bad she could not have stopped Sasuke. So she watched, and to her, both amazement and shock as the flames disperse. Naruto stood tall with a clone next to him, and his hand opened with a spiraling ball of chakra in his hand. What is that, Justu? Sasuke asked as all the fire was gone, and he formed lighting in his hand. Damn it, he cursed. Sakura watched as both Naruto and Sasuke got ready to kill each other. Naruto jumped up with the ball of chakra in his hand and the lightning in Sasuke's hand. Sakura knew she had to do something, so she started to rush up to her teammates but tripped on the ground, and she saw her sensei run up to try and stop them. He failed as some unknown force pushed Sasuke closer to Naruto, and both jutsu met. As both jutsu met in the middle of both boys, chakra started to grind into each other while also trying to tear itself and protect itself before it bade a large black orb that cracked the world around it, and both Naruto and Sasuke were blasted away from the hole in the sky they made. More ninjas of Konoha appeared around as Sakura explained what was going on and how Sasuke forced Naruto into fighting him with a sense of what Sasuke did to him. "You are too much like your mother, Geki," Jiraiya told his student as Naruto nodded. "Yeah, I know, but Naruto said before seeing something in the hole of darkness. "What is it?" the Toad Sage asked the blonde. "Am I seeing things, or are there red eyes looking at us?" Naruto said as he looked into the orb of darkness he and Sasuke made. And there was indeed a pair of blood-red eyes looking at them. Before anyone could say anything, a high wind picked up as people started to be pulled toward the orb. The older ninjas sent chakra to their feet, ensuring they stuck to the hospital's roof, but some of the younger ninjas held onto the older. But Sakura was really unlucky as she was swept off her feet as she was almost sucked into the hole. She felt a tug along with the sound of chains moving and turned to see a spiked golden chain embedded in her. As she looked to where the chain had come from, she saw that it had shot out of Naruto's hand. But it seemed that Sakura was not the only one that was getting sucked into the orb of darkness, as there a few other girls were getting sucked in as well. Naruto shot out more chains as cries of Hinata, Ino, Tenten filled the air as he licked his chain to each of them. But with the strength of the vortex that was pulling the girls in, he was pulled off his feet and into the air as he shot another chain at the ground holding him in place. "I can be rid of him if I do that," Sasuke thought as he took an explosive kunai from one of the ninja and threw it at where Naruto had anchored himself and the girls. And everyone watched in horror as he set off the explosive tag, and Naruto, Sakura, Hinata, Ino and Tenten were sucked into the hole of darkness before it closed behind them. Realm of the Gods. Naruto, along with the four girls, was in a heap on what looked to be silver marble, and as Naruto got up, he gasped, "Don't tell me," he muttered as the girls got up as well. What do you mean Naruto?" Hinata asked the blonde who was looking around. "I know this place, and we are not allowed here," Naruto said as he started to move quickly. The girls looked at each other and then at the retreating Naruto before they joined him. "Hey, Blondie, where are we?" Tenten asked him as they caught up to Naruto and passed buildings. "And where are we going?" Ino asked as she looked annoyed by the face she was pulled from Konoha with the blonde. "One of the two safe places that I can go if I'm here," Naruto said as they reached a large building with large columns with winding depictions of animals. He muttered something under his breath that none of the girls could hear as he walked into the building, and the girls followed him in. They found a woman sitting on a gigantic couch with multiple animal pelts as they entered. Everything made the five of them seem like ants in comparison, including the woman. "Mom, why are we here?" Naruto called out to the giant woman, who turned to Naruto and smiled at him as everything started shrinking to average size as chairs formed behind them. "Naruto, girls, welcome," Naruto's mother said to them. "Now, if you can wait a moment as the woman who called you here is coming soon, as I picked you girls for the reason that will be explained to you, but please wait," she said as Naruto nodded. "Okay." The girls turned to him, shocked. "That's your mother?" the four girls asked him as he nodded. "Why isn't she in Konoha? Who is she? What is she? Do you know where we are? Are we going to be able to return home?" That was only a tiny number of the questions Naruto asked as Shinigami walked in. Naruto bowed his head at her as the girls looked shocked at the woman who had just walked in. "I'm sorry that we had to do this, my warrior," she told Naruto, who nodded. "I understand, my lady," Naruto said as the girls felt their eyes ready to pop out at the respect Naruto was showing the woman. "May I ask why we have been summoned?" Naruto asked her. "You may, and the reason is simple. I grow tired of how those fools have both mistreated you and think that my power that holds back that beast is not strong enough," Shinigami said as Naruto nodded as the girls had no clue what was going on looked between the two of them. "So I called someone who owed me a favor and asked her if she could take you from them so that you could grow and be the real Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki and save your future," Shinigami said as Naruto's eyes popped wide. "My dad's the fourth," he asked his mother, who smiled at her son. "Did you really think just anyone could be with me other than my female Uchiha lover?" she asked her son, who looked sick. Hey, half of me is a goddess of that pantheon. I do some of that as well, you know, she told Naruto, who rolled his eyes at her. So why have we been taken as well? Sakura asked as Shinigami turned to the pink-haired girl. I did so to save you all from your futures as well, she told her as Sakura looked confused. What do you mean to save our futures? Sakura asked her. Well, in your case, you have your dream of marrying Sasuke Uchiha, Shinigami said as Sakura smiled. Naruto hid the upset look on his face, but Sakura soon gained a look of shock and horror. The S-rank criminal that has tried to kill Naruto Uzumaki a grand total of 5 times tried to kill you twice. And he would have succeeded if not for my warrior here. Shinigami said as Sakura did not like what she was hearing. He broke into the 5-cage summit and attacked the Kazekage and Raikage. With Mizukage and Tsuchikage joining in on attacking them, and he fought to killed the steward of Konoha and almost killed another one of my warriors. He joined the one that killed your third leader of his own want and joined a terrorist organization that wants to kill my warrior, Shinigami said as Ino joined Sakura in dread as they both loved the Uchiha and hearing this was destroying them with the sincerity in her voice. But Shinigami was not the slightest bit done. He helped bring back Orochimaru from the dead, held the world hostage by telling everyone that he would control the Biju, and to add the cherry on top of his crimes, he said that he would destroy Konoha and burn it to the ground with everyone in it, Shinigami said as both Sakura and Ino was openly crying. How do you know this? Tenten asked her as Shinigami smiled as her visage started to become demonic with sharp teeth and a serpent-like tongue coming out of her mouth. Sakura, Ino, she's the Shinigami, Lady of Death, patron goddess of the Uzumaki clan, Naruto said as he looked away from Sakura. It shocked both girls, but Sakura looked at Naruto, and he did not look at her one bit. And it hurt her more than Naruto did not call her Sakura-chan. Anyway, through the years, you either knowingly or unknowingly used my warrior here to state you want for the Uchiha where when Naruto becomes Hokage. Would give Sasuke his master job of spymaster, Shinigami said as Sakura looked defeated and hating her future self. Sasuke would cheat on you with the other of my warriors that he tried to kill and you both would pass the girl of as your daughter while you do get your own back on the Uchiha by sleeping with Naruto and giving him a son, Shinigami said as she paused to take a drink of water. Naruto's wife was okay with this as she was slowly losing power from her clan, but I'll get to her in a moment, Shinigami said as she looked at the others, who nodded. Anyway, after a while with Sasuke always away from the village you would stay close to Naruto but you both knew that you could never tell your son and said son would become like Sasuke bringing an end to the ninja world, Shinigami said as she then moved on to Ino. I guess I'm next, Ino said as she sounded defeated. Yep, you go through your life in the village for a while before you lose your sensei and spend a night with Naruto. And then you lose your father during a war that Sasuke helped form and slept with Naruto once more after the said war before marrying someone who has had his emotions lost to him and only just found them, Shinigami said before moving on to Tenten. For you Tenten I'm sorry to say, but you are practically forgotten in the village after the war that Sasuke Uchiha helps bring forth, Shinigami said as that hurt the girl worst. Then we have you, Hinata, Shinigami said as she turned to the meanest girl of the ninja. It starts with when you fought the fake leader of the Akatsuki, Shinigami said as Naruto narrowed his eyes. Fake leader of the ones trying to take the fox from me? Naruto asked as Shinigami nodded as Naruto's mother narrowed her eyes. Are they now? She muttered. Artemis, you can go after them later, Shinigami said as the now named Artemis nodded, narrowing her eyes. Back to you, Hinata, your cousin Neji gives his life to save you, and when the war is over, you marry Naruto, and after Naruto and Sakura's son, you and him have a daughter before you are slowly exiled from your clan and is just known as the wife of the Hokage, Shinigami said as Hinata looked sad with that. Naruto looked at the others before back at Shinigami. Where are we going to be going? Naruto asked her. To a world filled with magnificent animals, Shinigami said as she snapped her fingers. Backpacks formed in front of them with gauntlet-like bands forming on the laps of the genin, each one a different color. Naruto's one was red. Sakura's was pink. Ino had a purple. Hinata's was blue. While Tenten's was gray. Now then, before I send you off to get your starter, you can have this to make your starting home and a home while walking around. The goddess of death said to them as she handed them 2 capsules, with one having the number 1 while the other having the number 0. Now, the second thing I'm going to give you, or to be more precise, Naruto, I'm going to give you the Rinnegan, but this one allows you to return your eyes back to normal, Shinigami said as she walked over to Naruto and touched Naruto's head. When she moved her finger away, Naruto felt his eyes burn, and he felt chakra move to them as they started to change to utterly purple, with circles covering the entirety of the eyes. These Rinnegan are stronger than the normal ones as they can have all the power of the Sharingan and Mangekyo Sharingan, Shinigami said before 2 portals opened. One was behind the goddess, and the other was behind the ninja. But just so you all know, you can still return to your original world now with the capsules, and you can keep the dojutsu Naruto, she said as she pointed to one of the portals behind the genin. But if you want to go somewhere, you can be the real you can take the gifts, you can step through this one, Shinigami said as she indicated to the portal behind her. Naruto was the first to stand up as he picked up the backpack and went to the portal behind Shinigami. A silver moon formed above Naruto's head, and his blonde hair gained some crimson streaks, and his left eye, when he turned off the Rinnegan, turned from pure blue to a silvery blue. I've claimed you, now you can understand all animals, Artemis told her son. Sakura looked at Naruto, making his way to the portal before she made up her mind and walked over and joined Naruto, with Tenten and Hinata joining her as well. Ino looked behind her at the portal, then at the ones who walked over to the portal behind the goddess before joining them. So you all pick a new life, she said as they nodded before stepping through the portal. All the clan heads of Konoha, along with the civilian council, sat down as they waited for both the Hokage and the accused as the 3 elders walked into the room. It seemed that this was going to happen with how the Uchiha is, Shikaku Nara said as his former teammates nodded. You're right, but it does trouble me that no one but Jiraiya-sama knew about Naruto's chakra chains, Inoichi told him as a member of the civilian council looked confused. Why are the chakra chains important? The head of education asked them. The chakra chains are Kongo Fusa, are passed down from his mother, the previous head of the Uzumaki clan, who was the Jinchuriki before Naruto, Asuma said as he let out a cloud of smoke. They have complete sealing power as well, but as Naruto had just learned how to use them, they are slightly weak, Jiraiya said as he walked in, but if the Uchiha did not do what he did, Naruto would have saved the lives of the girls as well as himself. He added as Kakashi, who was the head of the Hitaki clan, said nothing as he knew what he could not say anything that would save his student. Tsunade then walked in and sat down as she looked at the doors that would soon lead to the last, local, Uchiha. Bring him in, she called out as the doors opened as Anbu walked in with the Uchiha in chains as they sat him down. Sasuke Uchiha, do you know why you have been called here today? Kaharu called out as she looked at the boy. I do not, Elder Kaharu, Sasuke said, but Inoichi leaned closer. I would tell the truth, boy, he told him as Sasuke glared at the man. Fine, I got rid of 5 nuisances, Sasuke said, but Homura shook his head. No, child, no, you have made Konoha weaker as you have made sure that we have lost our Jinchuriki, the next head of 3 clans, with one of them being our Jinchuriki, Homura said as Sasuke scowled at the man who was talking down at him, and with witnesses stating that you started the fight on top of the hospital as well as the trying to steal clan techniques, Homura said as Sasuke scoffed. What clan techniques? Sasuke asked. You've used your Sharingan to copy a technique that belongs to my clan that I have allowed Lee to know as our clans as becoming one with my adoption of him, Guy said as he was the head of the Lee clan, standing in for his student. Sasuke did not like what he was being told, so what, I'm the last Uchiha, the last of the clans that founded this village, it is my right, Sasuke told them as the Aburame scoffed at him. The last Uchiha? No, you are not, Shibi said as he shook his head, in this village, yes, but not the last, he told Sasuke. And your brother would be the better choice at this moment, Choza said as the other clan head, Bar Kakashi, nodded at what he said. But should he be punished for this? The head of agriculture of Konoha asked. Yes, as of this moment, we are weaker than we should be, and it is thanks to this child, Danzo told the woman, who looked away from the bandaged man. Tsunade looked down at Sasuke before nodding to herself. Then I have the only way that we can move forward, she said as everyone turned to her, artificial insemination, and then we can seal off his chakra and put him in prison for the 5 years for what he has done, Tsunade said as Sasuke's eyes shot wide as she. What? He yelled up at her, but she looked down at him with a cool look. Your clan helped found Konoha, yes, but my grandfather's clan also did, Tsunade said as Sasuke scowled at her. But it would have fallen without the aid of my grandmother's clan. The same clan that your teammate Naruto Uzumaki is the head of, the Uzumaki clan. The Go-Dime Hokage told Sasuke, who did not like the situation he was in. The clan head and the civilian council nodded at each other before they turned to Tsunade with Sume standing up. We say yes, Hokage-sama, she told her leader. Tsunade nodded back at Sume before standing up. Rabbit, monkey, snake, wolf, take him to the medical bay. And I shall send Shizune there so she can get the sample, she told the 4 Anbu, who nodded and started to drag Sasuke out the room. Wait, don't do this. I'm Sasuke Uchiha, the next head of the Uchiha clan, he shouted before being dragged out the doors by the Anbu. Shikaku shook his head before looking to the civilian council and the elders. He is like this because you lot fill his ego too much, he told them as they looked away from him. Jiraiya, have you managed to get the toads to help bring them back? Tsunade asked her teammate, who shook her. Why? She asked him. They said that something strong is blocking things from summoning themselves to his position so that they could summon him back, Jiraiya said as the ninja looked shocked. What can stop a summon from accessing their summoner? Hisashi asked the sage, who shrugged. Only a god or goddess, Artemis said as she walked in, and Jiraiya looked shocked at the man. What? She asked him with a smile. The toad sage blinked a few times before nodding. Well, at least I do not have to give the brat 50 ryu, he said as Artemis laughed at him. So you're a goddess? He asked her as Artemis nodded. The rest of the rook was shocked by what he said. Now then, I am here to say I am disappointed in all of Konoha, Artemis said as she started to tear into Konoha verbally. Kanto, Pallet Town, Professor Oak's laboratory, main study. Professor Samuel Oak was shocked as he had just finished talking to a goddess about how people from another world to his world to start over. He was shocked, and the goddess filled him in when he asked about them. So now he was waiting for the people coming as he looked at a portal in front of him. And it looked like the picture of a portal that his cousin Samson sent him. And his wait was soon over as Naruto and the girls stepped through the portal. So you're the ones I was told about, Professor Oak said before looking at their feet. Can you please go take your shoes off and then come back so we can get to business? He asked them as they looked down and nodded. The 5 of them went out and took off their sandals before they returned. Thank you, I'm Professor Oak, and welcome to Pallet Town, Professor Oak said as the genin sat down. Where are we exactly? Sakura asked. I mean, all Naruto's mother told us was that we were going to another world, Tenten said as the others nodded. Oh, that makes sense, the professor said with a slight nod. You are currently in the Kanto region, Professor Oak told them as they nodded. Now, before we begin, does anyone have any questions? He asked the genin, who shook their heads at him before he pulled out a projector and started a presentation. Now, in this world, there are fantastical creatures that go by the name of Pokemon that populate the world, Professor Oak told them as Naruto raised a hand. Yes, he asked Naruto. Naruto, and are there different types, as well as how many are there? Naruto asked as the girls saw that he was alert. And to say it shocked them. To the second question, no one knows how many Pokemon, but at the last count, there were 1,025 species of Pokemon in the wild, Professor Oak said as Naruto nodded. And for the first question, yes, there are types as each Pokemon can be said to have at least one type of 18, the man added. The 18 types are normal, fire, fighting, water, flying, grass, poison, electric, ground, psychic, rock, ice, bug, dragon, ghost, dark, steel, and fairy. The man listed off as they all nodded, as it was Hinata who raised her hand this time. Once, the professor nodded. I was wondering how would you distinguish if a Pokemon was FR from one type? Hinata asked as Naruto looked at her. Well, if it's like animals from our world, Hinata, you can tell by how they act around a habitat, Naruto said as Sakura looked amazed. How does he know that? She thought to herself. That is right, but there is another thing that can help you, Professor Oak said as he pressed a button on his remote. On the screen, a gray circle with what looked to be ears at the top of the circle was shown. Normal type Pokemon show what they are by showing that they look like normal animals from your world, he told them as he pressed a button as two Pokemon was shown on the screen. It showed an equine Pokemon with cream-colored fur, a pointed horn on its forehead, red eyes, and triangular ears with reddish interiors. On its neck flowed yellow and reddish-orange flames from a long, flowing mane, and a shorter version of the hair trails down its back to its equally fiery tail. The one beside it was a quadrupedal, canine Pokemon with black fur, a long orange snout, and an orange underbelly with small red eyes and a black nose. Atop its head was a pair of long, curved gray horns. Around its neck was a white band with a small skull-shaped pendant on its throat, 2 white bands on each of its ankles, and 3 rib-like ridges on its back with a long, skinny tail with a triangular tip and 3 clawed toes on each paw. There are 2 ways to know if you have a fire type, as with these 2 Pokemon, Houndoom, Professor Oak said as he pointed at the canine Pokemon before pointing at the other, and Rapidash. They are mostly seen to either have flames on them, like Charmander does on her tail, or have a part of their body in yellow, a bright red or bright orange, Professor Oak informed them as they nodded. He then moved it to the next slide, moved on to show a red circle with a white outline of a fist. Next is the fighting type, who mainly uses punches and kicks, he said as another slide came up. The symbol that was shown this time was a blue circle with a white water droplet. Now, water-type Pokemon are aquatic animals or are animals that live near the water, the professor told them as 3 pictures showed up. The first was a small, white Pokemon resembling a seagull, with its head making up a significant portion of its body, and it appears to lack a neck. It had thin, simplistic eyes, 2 triangular tufts on its head, and an orange beak with a hooked, black tip. 3 blue-tipped feathers gave it a fan-like tail, and its tiny, orange feet had 2 webbed toes. Next to it was a red-shelled, crustacean Pokemon with a short tail similar to a lobster whose eyes are saucer-like with small pupils, and it has 3 spikes on top of its head. It has 4 pairs of limbs in total, 2 of which were large pincers and 3 pairs of legs used for walking, with the upper segments of the legs, the underside of its body, and the lower halves of pincers being cream-colored. Then there was a large fish with reddish-orange scales, large, vacant eyes, and pink lips with its pectoral and tail fins white. On its back is a stiff, 3-peaked yellow fin resembling a crown. An identical fin is on its underside with long pale yellow barbels. Wingull is a Pokemon that lives by the sea. The professor then moved his finger to point at the crustacean. Corfish lives in the water but can walk on land for a long time, he said before pointing at the fish. And finally, for Magikarp lives and is not able to be on land as the biology that it has, he said as the next slide came up.